Hello, my name is Maya Smith. My big board project is called Bon Appetit, The Importance of Food. Food conveys love when words aren't big enough. Dr. Alan Woolcroft. This quote helps to just scratch the surface of how important food is and show its importance in everyday life. My thesis is that food is although many things define a culture, food is one of the most important things that affect everyday lives of humans. In order to prove this, I'll be taking three main paths. The first is the psychology of the brain and how it works. The second is the culture of a person. The third is the background of a person and the heritage or where they came from. The point of this big board is to try and convey the importance of food to everybody and not just so nobody just takes it for granted or thinks of it as just something that needs to be done and isn't affect you in any other way. Firstly, I'm going to talk about the psychology of the brain and how it affects food. In order to begin this discussion, I need to talk about how taste works and how humans perceive taste. Taste is achieved when food goes onto the tongue, which has thousands of palpi called taste buds. These taste buds are in 5 different categories, and they have 5 different senses, each sensing one. There's sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami, a Japanese word that means fat. Combined, these 5 things make up the taste that humans get when eating foods. Now, the reason that not everybody likes the same foods is that we all have different numbers of each kind of sense. For instance, this means that if you have less of a certain kind of sense, then you crave it more and enjoy that flavor more. For instance, if you lacked salt taste buds, then you would make up for it and compensate by eating a lot more salt and therefore enjoying more salty foods. This is how taste is achieved and how the basis of how humans make food, taste food, and create recipes. Next, I'll be talking about the psychological effects of eating food and how important these things are in everyday life. The first thing I'm going to talk about is called the placebo effect. This can this is often used in medical terms when doing a drug test and you give one patient the real drug and one patient a placebo, which is just a fake, in order to see if the drug is really working or if it's just people thinking that it's working. Now, this is used in terms of food by how our body takes the food and gets nourishment from it. If you eat a certain food and feel that it will have negative effects on you, it will. And if you think it with a positive mind frame, then it will have positive effects. For instance, if you eat cake one day and you're really sad, your body will have all of the negative effects and lack of nutrition that cake usually has. But if you eat it in a positive circumstance and you feel happy about the cake, then you will have positive effects and you won't get all of the negative calories and whatnot usually associated with eating cake. Next, I will talk about the brain's importance and how it affects eating foods. The brain is how we achieve taste and how taste can be achieved from eating different foods. So it's very important how the brain works in order to say how food will interact with you. The brain also affects a food by seeing if you would like it or not. For instance, if you see your friend eating a certain kind of food, you will have more positive connotations with it and therefore have a more positive effect from eating the food and be more likely to enjoy it than if you just eat a food without any other context. This is how the brain can affect what foods you like and what foods you don't. Another thing that the brain does is it craves certain chemicals. Now, for instance, there's caffeine, which your brain really enjoys, but it does not have much nourishment in it. So, you have to learn to balance what your brain likes and what is actually good for the rest of your body. The main reason we eat food is to get nourishment from it and to achieve maximum nutrients and supplements that we we get from eating the food and dissolving it. So, the brain has a very important factor in determining what foods you eat, what foods you like, and why you like them, and also how they affect you. Next, I'll be talking about the culture of a person and how that affects the foods they like. Culture is very important in determining what foods you're comfortable with and what foods are available in certain areas. The main to define culture is to say that culture is a certain set of ideals and standards that is common in a group. Culture cannot be you cannot be born with culture. It is a learned habit. It's the normals and the brain thoughts and the thoughts and ideals that over transcend a culture and a people and brings them together. So, this affects the kinds of foods that they like by one reason is by the importance they place on it. For instance, in some Middle Eastern cultures, food is a unifying factor, and meals are shared with a large group of people and are often positive and happy events. Therefore, it is placed a lot more high in the hierarchy of important things in everyday life. Another way that food can be affected by culture is the actual place or country that it comes from. For instance, there are many different things about a country that determine what foods the people eat. One main thing is the geography. So, if there is a river or a sea nearby a country, then a lot of the cuisine will be seafood based, as compared to if it was a desert area and the food would be a lot different and more dry. Another thing that helps with the culture shape the food is that the time of day that people eat their food. This can be different because in some in some countries the largest meal of the day is eaten at noon, while here in America the largest meal is eaten at dinner. This changes what courses are served when and what importance they have. Another thing that shapes the culture of food in different countries is the local species and plant life there. If there are a lot of plants and trees and it's a very healthy earth area, then there's a lot more plants and fruits and vegetables and herbs and whatnot in their diet. Another thing that can affect the food in a certain culture is the economic standpoint of the country of origin. If a country is rather poor and doesn't have a lot of surplus of money, then their diet will consist a lot more of basics. Whereas if it's a richer culture, a richer economic culture, then they will have a lot more different aspects to their meals and have a different set of standards. One main thing to keep in mind when thinking of different countries' cultures is that there is no one single culture for a country. This. Hey, Maya, shh, I'm taking video. I'll tell you later.
Alright. Okay.
So continuing, one country's food can have different influences from a multitude of different countries. This can come from trading or a person going to their culture, this different country, and bringing aspects of their home country, or many other routes that lead to, or colonization, that can lead to the spreading of a culture's influences from not just their home country to places all over the world. Next, I'll be talking about the background of a person and how it affects what kinds of foods they enjoy. The background of a person is very important in determining the foods they enjoy because every person has a different pattern every day that they follow, and this results in different foods that they might eat. A person whose pattern involves the same foods over and over again will therefore eat these foods continuously, while if it's a multitude of different influences every day and nothing's really the same, then their food patterns will change. Another thing that helps influence a person is their diversity they've been exposed to. If they have a lot of diversity in their lives, then they can have many different aspects influencing what foods they eat and what they feel comfortable with. While if they just had a monolithic background, then they have very few different influences and diversity of the foods that they eat. Another thing that food helps bring is comfort and like your home. Um, One important thing that food does is it makes you feel like you're part of something larger. Meaning that even if you're in a place that's far away, that you'll still feel at home and feel like a part of something, even if it's not evident right in front of you. Some might say that a culture or a food cannot be recreated outside of its original home location. For instance, you can't make Italian pizza when you're in New York because you don't have the same ingredients, you don't have the same water, you don't have the same humidity, and etc. But I believe that this isn't true. The meaning of the food transcends just the taste of it and the ingredients that it's made out of. The real meaning of the food is to make you feel at home and to make you feel happy and content, not just a bunch of ingredients put together. There's a lot more to a dish than just what you put in it. It's also who made the recipe. It's also when you've had it before. It's also when you what makes you what who it makes you think of when you eat a certain food. To bring my big board into real life, I did a community outreach, which was a potluck at Seahome with the English as a second language students and Flex students coming together. The main aspect of this potluck was to bring a dish that comes from your certain background or heritage. Through this, we learned a lot about each other and also about ourselves and how common we were. There are many different foods that were brought, but the overall thing was that they made people feel at home and made them feel happy and safe and brought warm memories. Even though the dishes were very diverse, the people still we all still felt connected and happy. And it was a very positive experience for everyone involved. The food isn't just how it tastes or how it's how it makes you feel and how it makes the others around you feel. Thank you.